We have a problem, Batman. Gotham needs you again.
11-born Jane Ives was kidnapped as an infant and raised in Hawkins National Laboratory, where she endured years of psychological torture and experimentation designed to weaponize her natural psychic abilities. Dr. Martin Brenner, who she called Papa, subjected her to sensory deprivation tanks and forced her to use her powers for espionage and assassination, while completely isolating her from normal human development and social interaction. Her desperate attempt to make contact with the Demogorgon during one experiment accidentally tore open a gateway between dimensions, unleashing horrors from the upside down, while simultaneously giving her the chance to escape into the outside world, where she found genuine friendship for the first time. 11 possesses telekinetic abilities that allow her to move objects with her mind, crush or stop hearts from a distance, and even flip vehicles or collapse buildings when pushed to her limits. Her powers manifest through intense concentration and emotional distress, growing stronger when she's protecting people she loves, but becoming dangerously unstable when she's frightened or angry. Extended use causes severe physical strain, including nosebleeds, exhaustion, temporary loss of consciousness, and in extreme cases, complete power depletion that leaves her vulnerable for extended periods. Her isolation and lack of education make her socially naive and emotionally fragile, prone to lashing out when confused or threatened, while her dependence on the few people she trusts creates exploitable attachment points. My contingency focuses on the fact that 11's powers are directly tied to her emotional state and energy reserves, meaning psychological warfare and endurance tactics work better than direct confrontation. The plan involves using sensory deprivation technology similar to what Hawkins' lab employed, which temporarily disrupts her ability to locate targets and focus her telekinetic abilities. By forcing extended engagement that drains her reserves, while avoiding giving her emotional fuel like threats to her friends, I can create windows where she's powerless and can be contained safely until proper support structures are established to address her trauma and help her integrate into normal society. What do you think, Alfred?
Master Bruce, Jane Hopper represents one of the most heartbreaking cases of child exploitation imaginable. A young girl who was stolen from her mother, raised in a laboratory like an experiment rather than a person, and forced to use her extraordinary gifts as weapons before she even understood what childhood should mean. What strikes me most profoundly is that despite everything done to her, she retained her capacity for love and friendship when given the slightest opportunity for normal human connection. Her powers are terrifying in their scope, yes, but they're wielded by a traumatized teenager who missed out on everything that helps children develop emotional regulation and social understanding. The nosebleeds and exhaustion aren't just physical limitations. They're her body's way of protecting her from the psychological damage of using abilities that no human mind was meant to possess, rather than viewing her as a threat requiring containment. Perhaps we should recognize her as a child in desperate need of the stable home, education, and therapeutic support she's been denied her entire life.
Alfred's perspective reminds me that 11 is fundamentally a victim who needs protection rather than an enemy requiring defeat. However, the trauma she's endured combined with her immense power creates scenarios where she could accidentally cause catastrophic damage during emotional episodes. The approach must balance providing her with the support she deserves while maintaining safeguards that protect both her and potential bystanders from the consequences of uncontrolled psychic abilities. What do you think, Robin?
She's trying to figure out how to be a normal person while also being one of the most powerful beings on the planet. What makes her situation so messed up is that she literally doesn't know basic things like what friendship means or how to interact with people because she spent her whole childhood in a lab being treated like a weapon. Her powers getting stronger when she's emotional makes perfect sense when you realize she never learned healthy ways to process feelings. She just learned that when bad things happen, you make them stop by breaking them with your mind. The scary part isn't that she's dangerous, it's that she's trying so hard to be good, despite having every reason to be angry at the world that hurt her.
Robin's insight about 11 needing normalcy, rather than containment, reframes the entire strategy from threat management to protective support. The real contingency isn't about stopping her. It's about ensuring she has the resources and relationships necessary to develop healthy emotional regulation before her powers manifest during a crisis she can't handle. This means connecting her with mental health professionals specializing in childhood trauma, facilitating safe social environments where she can build genuine friendships, and providing education that fills the massive gaps in her development. When someone with her capabilities receives proper support and stability, the likelihood of dangerous incidents drops dramatically. The sensory deprivation vulnerability offers a non-lethal intervention method for worst-case scenarios where her powers spiral out of control during psychological episodes. Creating portable technology that can temporarily induce the dissociative state she experiences in isolation tanks provides an emergency shutdown option without causing permanent harm. This equipment would only be deployed when she's actively causing destruction and unable to respond to verbal de-escalation, serving as a last resort that protects everyone, including herself, from the consequences of uncontrolled telekinetic outbursts. The technology must be designed with her welfare in mind, using the minimum duration necessary to interrupt the immediate crisis, while trained counselors prepare to help her process whatever triggered the episode. When emergency interventions prioritize her long-term recovery over simply neutralizing threats, the response becomes therapeutic rather than punitive. My final assessment recognizes that Jane Hopper represents both the resilience of human spirit under impossible circumstances and the responsibility society bears toward children who've been systematically abused in the name of science or security. Her management requires abandoning the laboratory mindset that created her trauma and instead providing the family structure, educational opportunities, and emotional support that every child deserves regardless of their abilities.